Hi, my name is Gabriel Platt. I'm going to be narrating the story. This story is a story about a homeschooling family showing resilience and resistance in an unexpected circumstance. I was also homeschooled. I recently graduated high school in May of 2022, so I'll be narrating from that point of view. Without further ado, let's get into the story. Has the image of a normal homeschooling family changed since we've all been through a global pandemic?
God has blessed me with so many things. And I am thankful for all the joy that this life brings, all of the beautiful points of light. I am grateful for the blessing of my daughter, the blessing of my son, the blessing of their father, my one.
I'm Crystal. My husband is Marlon. My kids, Riley and Raina, are 11 and 9. They are homeschooled. My husband and I have been married for 13 years. Yeah, it's just the four of us and 2 dogs. We live in the part of Maryland that's close to DC. We're not close to Baltimore or Annapolis. We're right outside of DC, which is actually where my husband and I both grew up. We grew up in Prince George's County, and within the county, there are a lot of different neighborhoods, different towns. We actually found out that for 1 year, we went to the same elementary school. We did not know each other.
We were students at Kayak Academy in Fort Washington. I have no recollection of having seen her. We met later in college, and as we were just talking about life and our experiences, we shared that we were at Kayak Academy and found out, oh wow, we used to be schoolmates. And, thought it was pretty peculiar that we were at that school together. And then, of all things, we met at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, which is also where my parents met, and I thought that was pretty amazing too.
Where I live now, my husband and I both grew up in neighborhoods that were new when we moved in. Like, they had just built housing developments. We were like the first ones that lived in those houses. Right now we're living in an apartment complex, which outside of college is new for us. Because we just didn't live in apartments growing up. And for my kids, it's like, okay, yeah, it's fine, it's normal. There are a lot of things right now that are normal for them that weren't normal for my husband and I growing up.
Homeschool for me and my brother, even with the pandemic going on, it didn't really change drastically as public school kids, how their lives changed. But I would say that there was change in how we learned and how we, went on with our lives, taking the pandemic into perspective and adjusting to it.
I'd say the one thing that, pushed it over the edge for me, was pretty much just, it was the pandemic. And so there was a lot of, or rather there was a lack of information on what this virus was doing besides, ending people's lives. And so out of, I would say somewhat fear, but also more so concern, for my own family, I was like, yeah, let's just go ahead with the homeschool. I mean, it was already a conversation that my wife and I had, spoken about earlier on in our marriage before we even had children. And so with them being at home, we were like, yeah, let's just go ahead and do homeschool. Our son, at the time, he was in the 3rd grade. Our daughter, she was in the 2nd. And the school had given them laptops. And, they both have their math classes, their PE classes, their writing classes. Times doing, and they had to have face-to-face meetings with their teachers. And the difficulty that I saw my wife going through, trying to stay on par with all of that. Math at 2 different times a day, PE at 2 different times a day. A writing assignment here, a writing assignment there. And so there was also a convenience in just having homeschool. We can have everything done at the same time, you know, where they're both getting math, both getting reading and comprehension, both working on their art, both working on social studies, and there's not a bunch of going back and forth different times here. This has to be done by 12, this has to be turned in by 3. You know, it was also convenient. And I would say since taking that leap, you know, I haven't been unsatisfied at all.
Riley and Raina, their reaction to the announcement about not going to school, when we told them about the pandemic and the distance learning, you're not going back to school, they both screamed. And immediately one began laughing, one began crying. One rejoiced and thanked God, and the other one was full of just torment and torture and just, so forlorn. So, yeah, Riley was happy. Raina was sad. When I told them, like, months later, when we decided to homeschool, they didn't have much reaction because they felt like it was what they had been doing anyway with distance learning. So they were fine. Raina had a harder time adjusting than Riley did because she was very used to a routine. She wanted to do everything at home the way it was at school. She wanted us to say the pledge. She wanted us to have morning announcements. She wanted a written schedule with about 25-minute increments of what we were going to do. She wanted to know what day was A day, was B day, what day are we doing PE, what day we're doing music. Like she wanted to know, so she knew like when she needs to lay out her sneakers, if it was going to be a PE today, or if we're doing sheet music and keyboard. Like she had a difficult time learning that homeschool is not school at home. Riley, it was more like, yes, I don't have to get up early. My mom's my teacher. I can eat snacks. So he was thrilled.
One of the fantastic things about homeschooling is that you are able to customize your day, able to make changes, able to tailor things to really meet the demands and the needs and to accommodate the students that you're teaching. So a homeschooler can take as many breaks as necessary, break lessons up into smaller chunks, could even decide to homeschool later in the day if they have a student who learns better later in the day. There's such a wide variety and so many options available to homeschooling families that makes those options really, really good, especially for people who learn maybe a little differently or who need certain accommodations.
With me and with our homeschool was built on reading. And I found out that I took way longer because my mind, I would read words, but I wouldn't actually be reading. I found out that I need to take more time to myself to read and to like slow down and fully grasp what I'm reading. And that just came with the customized schedule that my mom set up, which ultimately helped us complete our school day from start to finish.
Okay, our general homeschool routine is I get up in the morning around 8. Actually, I usually get up before 8, but I actually usually literally get out of the bed around 8 to wake up the kids. I put the timer on for about a minute, and I just kind of toss them to bed. Sometimes I will put it by the door so they have to get up and walk across the room to turn it off. The interesting thing is that the dogs have gotten used to that. So they don't pay any attention to me when I'm walking past. When they see me toss the phone, they start whimpering because they want to go out. Because when the kids get up, they get dressed and they take the dogs out. And so now when the dogs see me with the phone in my hands and it goes in the room, they're like, yes, it's time to go out. It's time to go out. So once the kids get up, get dressed, take the dogs out, they bring the dogs back, the dogs eat, then it's time for them to wash their hands, eat their breakfast, and they usually have about 30 minutes to do whatever they want to do. Their chill time, relax, something they just really want to work on, whatever. It throws them off when they're in the middle of something and they suddenly have to change without notice. It also throws them off when they don't know what to expect. So I let them know the expectations for the day, and I give them a transition. Okay, when you finish the dishes, then let me know. When they let me know, it's for 2 reasons. 1, to make sure they actually did what they were supposed to do. And 2, because that's the point of setting the timer. And that's like a check-in. And it gives them some accountability. Okay, are the dishes really done? Because we have to go over the list. Because dishes being done equals clean the kitchen. You don't just wash dishes and that's it. They need to be dry, they need to be put away, you need to wipe the counters, the floor, you need to put away this thing. Because I learned that you have to be very specific. If we're going out, like if we're going to a homeschool meetup, then that's usually I have it scheduled so that we can, that's when we go. That's when we eat, chill, whatever, get ready, then we go out. If it's a day when we're doing work, then it's time for them to pull out their books and do work. Sometimes it's a learning day and not a work day. So when we do homeschool, they're not always writing. They're not always with the workbook. Sometimes there are videos that I assigned them to watch. Let's watch those and we'll talk about it. Sometimes for homeschool, it's a day when we're doing maintaining what's going on in the house, our surroundings, taking care of our environment. So it might be they have 3 chores that they have to do. There might be put away the clean dishes, wash the dishes, and clean the living room, and then you get a break.
I think looking back on it as a homeschooling parent, I realize now that I had neurodivergence going on, which impacted my own upbringing in terms of being a student. I was late diagnosed with ADHD, and I think that being able to homeschool and being able to tailor things so that the education can be accommodating for things like that has been a real benefit for us as a family, and a benefit for me as the homeschooler, as the main, home teacher. It's one of those things that allows you to, to customize and to make the necessary changes and adjustments that you need to make, because ultimately, we're looking for people to learn, everybody to be learning. So that has been a real benefit we have found personally in being able to be home teachers.
I think that once me and my brother started homeschool, there was always more free time to learn, to focus our own passions on each of our businesses. And that was always a good thing. Because I remember in 6th grade and 7th grade, I remember being up to my eyes in homework. So it's always nice to have some room to breathe.
I think that free time is important for them because it gives me a chance to see what they're into. So I don't think it always looks typical for homeschool to have kids just sitting around chilling. From the outside in, it might look like they're just sitting on screens, or what are they really doing? But my daughter has been animating stories. She found an app that she likes, and she makes characters, and these characters go through these elaborate stories. And she adds music to go along with the plot of what's going on. That wouldn't have happened if she was in school. That wouldn't have happened if I was dictating every move they make with their learning. My son, he talks about things I don't fully understand, as far as he wants to have this particular program, and he wants to build a computer, and he wants to do such and such. And sometimes you get frustrated because the equipment that we have isn't quite what he needs for what he wants to do. And I'm learning a lot about that. I'm also learning things about his personality and his humor and things that he picks up and the nuances that he picks up. He doesn't always talk about his thoughts and feelings, but then he'll just talk about an episode of something and how that relates to something else. And the way he can take information and store it, and the way those connections are made for him, blow my mind. And sometimes for him, he cooks because he likes to cook. So that is incorporated sometimes. I consider that also homeschooling. He had to find a recipe, I had to prove it, we had to shop, get the ingredients, and he did an awesome job. And he wants to do more of it. The only reason he doesn't cook more is because it's difficult for me. I want to fix it, and I can't fix it. He has to go through the process. And sometimes that's very slow, sometimes very playful. He's laughing and singing and making drum beats, and I don't want to take the joy away from him learning how to cook just because I hate cooking. After dinner, we usually have some more cleanup. And there's always walking the dogs several times throughout the day. At night, sometimes depending on what we did during the day, like they might have been out all day and they need to clean the kitchen before bed. We might have been home all day and they get to watch whatever they want on TV before bed. So bedtime routine, usually the very last thing they do is walk the dogs one last time, and then they get themselves ready for bed. And they may or may not go to sleep for another hour.
Dishes won't wash themselves. The dogs won't feed themselves. Gotta get out this bed. First get out my head. Pieces of things that need my attention. When my mind is filled with my own transgressions. And the pieces of light that I know are there never go far away. And I am grateful with the blessings and the light that gets to stay. And I know everything is beautiful and great, and I also know that sometimes things aren't great, and that's okay.
I mean, it's not the best, but it's also not the worst, you know? Can't really make new friends. No one to relate to, kind of, except for my sister.
How do I feel about being homeschooled? It's okay. I like it, it's just not as fun as regular school. Honestly, I'm not a fan. Probably the fact that I might be able to take a nap without getting in trouble. And also take breaks to eat and stuff. And I don't have to sit there starving.
Well, Stardust makes me very forgetful when I think about it. Several times I've mixed up what mom has told me to do because of my ADHD and my ADHD alone. Seriously, she'd tell me, okay, so do this and this, and I'd be like, okay, so do this. I'd go do it, and I forget about the other thing.
Right.
My brain just focuses on one thing at a time, very hard, in a bad way. No?
Okay, so it started like way back in like 2018. I was just watching videos and I really liked how they looked and how they were made, and I saw an app that could help me do that, and then I found a few more so I could make my own videos and draw my own pictures and even do some digital art. So then I just started drawing whenever I felt like it, and I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with animating and drawing.
What's my favorite video games? That's easy. TF2, Minecraft, Roblox, and Mario.
And what was the first one?
What's that?
What was the first one? TF2?
Yes.
What's TF2?
First-person shooter with a bunch of different characters and whatnot. Unlike other first-person shooters, it's like more silly, more goofy, less bait and less like focused on like war or whatnot. Like normal first-person shooters just like start off like there was a Cold War of 1997. Meanwhile, TF2 just starts off with, "Hey, I'm a Russian dude with a big minigun. Come play on this thing." It helped me focus on like my funniness and my jokes. Give me new ideas, new materials. It taught me that, like, you don't have to be serious all the time. You can play around as long as you still get back to it.
The DJ looks over to the guy and says, "Man, you're a really big jerk when you're sugar high, Superman."
I think I can relate a lot to, Riley and Raina and their feelings about homeschool, because that's how I felt at the beginning. I've been in public school my whole life. I didn't really get to tell my friends that I had in public school that I was leaving because the leave was so abrupt. And so I definitely get where they're coming from, their thoughts about it. but I think that I like learned to appreciate the amount of time that I had, because I had so much more time to do stuff that I really wanted to do. And I guess I found the beauty in completing stuff that I didn't really want to do to get to what I wanted to do.
Digital for sure. Ooh. If I had to choose between digital art and singing, ooh, that's a really tough question. I don't know. I do have an idea of how I'm gonna use both one day. I actually have done it like once before. Writing a song and then drawing a picture that kind of matches the vibe of the song. Ooh, I can. I honestly, when we were at that open mic, I was so proud of myself for standing up in front of all those people with only one other kid, which was my brother in the room. So like, I was really, really scared, but I was proud of myself for singing an original song and doing it in front of a crowd, because I have a little bit of stage fright. What are my thoughts about Riley, you ask? I love him, but he's annoying, like super annoying at times. But that's how he shows his love. To be honest, he's annoying. He's like super annoying at times, but like he can also be really sweet. And sometimes he's annoying on purpose, which makes me really, really bad. But other times he's accidentally being annoying. Hopefully accidentally sometimes, otherwise he is going to get his butt beat when I get back inside.
My son saw the bullet. Oh, that's how they broke in. Oh, that's how they got into the car. But yet again, here we are. That would be 6 months and 2 different bullet-involved crimes against my family. Shards. But no matter how dark it is, I'm always going to see the light in the darkness. No matter what happens, I'm always going to feel blessed. And the bliss that comes from joy and the knowing of who I am, or who we are, or whose we are, I will always have peace, because it is the peace that passes understanding.
It was July, and I was in the living room doing my daughter's hair. My son got excited, and he came out of the bedroom. He was playing video games in my bedroom. He came out because it was the video they liked, and so he's excited about the video. And a few minutes later, we hear these popping sounds, glass shattering. You hear someone scream, a woman scream. Like, we were like, whoa. My son jumped up, and I said, you stay right here. And I went straight to their bedroom, and I looked out the window, and I didn't see any cars. Like, there's no car accident. I look, and I see a man walking, and he has a gun. And I pulled out my phone. My phone actually was in my hand, and I recorded it. I just recorded him for a moment, and then I called 911. And I told them that I heard glass shattering. You can see my blinds. That's where the bullet hit the window. I was like, I don't know what the shattering was. I don't see anything, but something. I don't know what the popping was. I don't know what that was, but I heard glass shattering and popping. And not that banister, but that one, where that green chair is. It broke the sliding glass doors and shot my neighbor in the leg. I heard the glass shatter. I heard her scream. And so I'm seeing the fire truck, and they said they're sending a unit as soon as they could, and I told them I had a video. They said they were going to send a detective to get the video. I came back out, and me and the kids, I'm like, are you guys okay? We're talking about it and how close it sounded. I'm like, yeah, it sounded like it was in here, didn't it? Then I was like, wait a minute, my bedroom. So we looked, we opened up the, so we opened the door was open. We looked in my bedroom, and we didn't see anything at first, and then we looked down, we see glass all over my bed, all over the floor. And I look up, and that's when I saw that my mirror was shattered. And I saw the blinds, and there was a hole in the window. And I was like, they shot into our apartment. Like, the bullet came and hit our glass. I didn't know at the time, but there were police everywhere by this point. My husband came home. I had called him, had made other calls. And then the man came back with the police officer came back with the detective. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was calm and reassuring, and like, she was wonderful. Gave me the information, and the thing that really surprised me was when the first police officer found the bullet. Because you just don't expect to see a bullet at your bedroom door, just sitting on the floor there. That was July. So here we are a few months later with another bullet. This one outside my car door. I'll put a plastic bag on here. I'll probably cover it with something better later. Being in or close to a high crime area, it has impacted my family, but honestly, I'm surprised at how well they're doing. I signed the children up for therapy. So they talk to a therapist. At first it was once a week, but they're doing so well now it's once every other week. My daughter had a hard time with she's always had a hard time with loud sounds, but for a little while afterwards, when she hears certain sounds, sometimes she would cry. Sometimes I would too. But we've gotten so much better. So I think it's because we know that sometimes bad things happen, but we're okay. And we move on. The window is fixed. We know that we are going to move out of this area at some point. Well, we're working towards that. They see that we're working towards it and that we're still okay, and sometimes things happen.
With homeschooling, really, with any school, you're supposed to feel safe there. You're supposed to go there for education and learn and grow. You can't do that without a environment that enables that. I'm thankful that me and my brother had that environment and that we had that support. I'm also thankful that the Perkins are persevering past this and still choosing to do this. This is what they feel like is right for their family. And for them to still be there trying to live the homeschooling lifestyle, that's awesome.
It is the peace in my heart. It is the peace in my mind. All these pieces of me, the peace inside of me, because of the grace God has given me, that no matter what may look like bondage, we are free. It's not about what might be in anyone's account. It's not about what might be in anyone's house. It's not about what might be outside. It's all about God the Almighty and what He has placed in me, and what He has placed in my husband, what He has placed in my children, what He has placed in this room. Even from the womb, we know that God Himself has put pieces of Himself in us. And that is how we are okay, how we survive the day, how we look forward to the sun, because every night has a new day, and every darkness will be kept at bay because of the light within each of us. And I thank God for the pieces of light and joy and love. And we are going to move on together with all of our beautiful, broken, perfect pieces.
The other day I was out walking the dogs and one of my neighbors asked me about homeschooling because she's considering homeschooling her daughter. So she was asking me about pointers because she knew that we homeschooled our kids. It's not the first time someone, was asking us about it because they were very interested. I like that part of the Sense community. There's respect for it. Our kids decorated shirts and we wore them on one of our field trips recently. And our neighbor across from us said, "Oh, I like those. Maybe they can make some shirts for me. Maybe I can order some from them." I had never thought about the idea of even them doing it as a venture, but here it is, a neighbor willing to pay them. That's pretty good. That's a big deal.
Well, one thing that I would hope for them going into life, going into their own personal experience, as they grow into adulthood and also enter adulthood, is for them to, one, see the value of family. One thing about being a homeschool family is the responsibility of educating your children. It's not being outsourced; it's being done at home. Hence, homeschooling. But all of the lessons, not just the rudimentary lessons of reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also just the life skills as well. You're not just learning how to read and write and do math. You're also learning how to do dishes, how to manage your household, how to budget, how to do taxes. They don't teach that in schools. When it comes to just life skills and also just, once again, the bond of family, and community, that's something that you typically don't get in a classroom. So that's something I would definitely like for them to harness and develop as they grow and go into adulthood and just go off into life on their own.
When it comes to the things that I want our kids to know, that they learn from homeschooling, that they can take with them into the future, I want them to be able to see problems and be able to figure out what works for them, how they can overcome the problem. Not always wait for someone else to rescue them, someone else to do it for them, to just do what everyone else says to do. Want them to think, process, and apply their own knowledge to that situation. If they don't know what to do, figure out how to get the resources to do it. That's very big. I think that's very important for them. I love that we don't just learn about the world around us, but they get to learn about themselves and how that connects to the world around them. They volunteer, they do chores, they help other people.
Yeah, I would say in conclusion, as it just pertains to just parents and children, children are inevitably going to learn. So teach them something. We hear it all the time. If you don't teach them it at home, they'll learn it outside the home. So take your pick. And as it pertains to parents, children are, one way or another, teachers are parents. And whether you're present or not, your children are going to learn from you. They're going to learn a lot about you. How much you care, how much involved you were. Were you just there and not involved, or were you just not there at all? They're going to learn from that. It is going to affect them, and you will see it as they go into the world. So be involved.
I'm hoping that they can continue and be okay, and that the seeds we're planting in them now are going to be what help nourish them for the rest of their lives. And I think it's worth the sacrifices that we're doing to implant these things in them right now.
And that concludes this story. I hope that you all found this story inspiring or motivating. I also hope that you all now know that you can find your passions and interests in any unexpected circumstance or situation, and that you have time to explore those things. I also hope that we can all walk away to do that, and also to show resilience and resistance in our own circumstances or situations.